I've noticed that the video essay market has been changing a lot recently, and a lot for the better. I've been seeing these channels get more creative with their styles, start to do other projects that aren't video essays, and today I've picked the perfect person to talk about it with because, weirdly enough, even though I disagree a lot sometimes with the videos, we actually have a lot in common creative-wise, so please welcome to the show, Coley of HoustonProductions1. What's up, buddy?
Hey, guys, what's up? Hang on, I'm holding in a sneeze.
Oh my god, what a great way to start off.
I know. Okay, it's gone, never mind. Hey, guys, it's me! Yeah, I am very happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. I was telling you just a minute ago that I've known you through Twitter for quite some time, but I didn't connect until today that you ran the Stories as Lessons YouTube channel, which I've watched for some time. So I was like, oh wow, the guy that I know does the other thing that I know. It's a thing that I know together.
Weirdly enough, I think that's how I met you as well. Like,
oh, good.
Yeah, the first video I saw of yours was why the horror of It Isn't Scary, and I reckon you'd probably agree with my brother on that. He was laughing at the Georgie scene in the cinema.
Yeah, I wasn't laughing out loud, but I was definitely completely unfazed. I was like, okay, I guess this is what this is.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's sort of what we're going to talk about, because I kind of love that even though I can disagree with someone, I love that they can show me a different perspective. So, yes. How did you get started out with doing video essays and Houston Productions, and how did all that come to be?
Well, I was actually recounting this story to someone yesterday because I think it's the 7-year anniversary of my YouTube channel a couple days ago, actually. And I remember making my YouTube channel on my Nook Color, which was like pre-iPad. It was like a Kindle, but the Barnes & Noble version, and they had a browser on it. So I made my YouTube channel on an ebook, an e-reader.
That is awesome.
And the first couple videos that I made were like Pokemon card reviews on carpet at my grandma's house. That was how I got started on YouTube. And then it branched off immediately from there to Lego stuff. I was very inspired by Lego reviewers and whatever, so I did for several years stop motion animation and Lego news and Lego reviews and little funny lists like top 10 Lego sets that you should buy now and that kind of thing. And so around 2015 was when I started to really get into more filmmaking stuff. I'd always loved movies, but 2015 was about, or maybe 2014 was when I was about to sort of get into actual filmmaking and to some degree film criticism, even though I can't really call myself a film critic because I'm not paid and I am not providing for myself at all with that job. So, yeah, but that was about when I got into film criticism and stuff, and since then I've sort of gone from video essays to now doing more of a hybrid, talking about why I love things and themes in movies and storytelling. So yeah, that's mini journey.
I mean, all that, and you're only 18. Like, when I was 18, I was getting drunk in Dubai and hanging out with my friends.
Well, I've never been to Dubai, but
I grew up
who knows
there.
What would happen if I went. Oh wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I've been in here in the great America for my entire life.
I always love that America thing, just for some reason. I don't know why,
of
but
course.
it's hilarious. But like, I think I started kind of similarly to you. There was a whole thing called Tough Channel that came about. That was like a Screen Junkies sort of fan-made thing. It's run by Jack Shipley, and through that, I got invited onto another show called Odd Shape Panel by my friends Tom and Kimber, but actually, perfectly enough, it's because on my Fight of Fan Friction, I said I believe Harry Potter is better than Star Wars. And Odd Shape Panel were doing a Harry Potter episode, so they had me on.
It seems that we are like-minded on that topic.
Very much. Maybe it's because I read the books so young, and I kind of grew up with those movies more so than Star Wars. That might be why I prefer Harry Potter.
That's definitely my reason as well. I think they're much more cohesive and consistently good films and books, though, as well.
Yeah,
you know, it's clearly not as revolutionary, but I think better stories.
I mean, you liked it enough to do a whole hour documentary on it.
Of course, yes. I had never made a video on Harry Potter before, so I was like, if I'm going to do a Harry Potter video, this has to be like the penultimate. Like, I have to do this right. And the only way to do it right is to give it a whole hour.
Funny thing is, I actually that was one of the videos that I did that hasn't gotten a lot of views. I did a video on like the Patronus. Like, I remember Lessons from the Screenplay did a video about finding light within darkness, and the Patronus pretty much like exemplifies that completely.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I really love the idea that the Patronus is that the Dementors represent depression, and to defeat them, you have to think of the happiest thought that you can ever like muster, and keeping that focus is what drives them away. I think that's a really cool message. That's why Prisoner of Azkaban's my favorite movie. Half-Blood Prince is my favorite book, but I really appreciate that.
I just finished re-listening to the audiobook of Half-Blood Prince. I pretty much everywhere that I drive, I listen to a Harry Potter audiobook on CD in my car. And I'm thinking about actually getting the classic YouTube promotion Audible, free audiobook, free trial.
I mean, it's not like anyone's getting that, is that?
I'm thinking about getting that just so I can listen to more Harry Potter audiobooks. But yeah, I think actually Half-Blood Prince might be my favorite book as well, or Deathly Hallows. I'm not sure. Yeah.
The book of Half-Blood Prince for me is definitely better than the movie. I could see why some people don't like the movie as much compared to the book.
I think the movie is a really good film on its own, but it doesn't live up to the book nearly as much with that comparison. Like, the whole Ginny-Harry romance is not done nearly as well. Dumbledore's funeral isn't in it, and, you know, the movie definitely had to cut out a lot of stuff, but I think it was still handled semi-well, you know.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. It could be like Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier.
But yeah, most of the videos we've done, I think... it's something I've noticed that you're doing now is that you're focusing a lot on stuff that's really personal to you, and I tried to do that with stories as lessons, because I don't know if you're familiar with this guy, but my favorite working YouTuber now is the Dom, who does Lost in Adaptation. Have you ever heard of him?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Because
one, he's a British guy. Two, he's very good looking, and three, he talks about books and movie adaptations. That's like my 3 reasons for liking him, but I kind of loved that that kind of thing brought back reading for me, because reading something that I sort of fell in and out of when I was growing up, and I wanted to kind of relate that in my own channel. So after I started doing video essays, like I did one on Spider-Man 2, Silence of the Lambs, Game of Thrones, you know, all the classic video essay subjects. I mean, I haven't done any on Blade Runner or Logan yet, because I'm not intelligent enough to talk about those.
I think those sneezes I saved up earlier are finally coming out.
Which is perfect, really.
Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, I've wanted to make a... Well, I made a video about Blade Runner when that came out.
Oh, yeah,
it
was
it's
on
not as sexist as people claim it is.
I've only seen it once,
I haven't
so I
had
can't
the
really
nerve to
comment
tackle
on that.
Logan yet. Yeah.
I did consider doing something about Logan, but sort of like with a new James Bond movie coming out, I think that should kind of be like James Bond's Logan, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah, because I don't know how much of a Bond fan you are, but I don't want to see another Spectre.
No, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm like a huge Bond fan. I've seen a couple of the classic ones, barely, but then I've seen all the Daniel Craig ones. Casino Royale is pretty good. I love Skyfall. That's one of my favorite blockbusters of the past few years, or the 2010s. And then, yeah, Spectre is quite the fiasco, quite the mess. I'm not a fan of that. Yeah,
me neither. And why I'm not a fan of it is because it's not particularly creative. Bringing it back to what we were talking about in the first place. So,
segue.
Oh, okay. So Qui-Gon Jinn, most influential character in Star Wars, right?
What? No, what?
Are you serious?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah, so aside from doing video essays, something that I really loved about your channel is that, you know, I see some video essay creators on Twitter talking about projects that they want to do, like I Am That Robbie, I think, was talking about scripts that he was writing, and I believe he's currently doing a film course class. It might be the same for some of the other guys, but, you know, you've made a short film. Long Box Breakup, which I watched 2 days ago, and dude, honestly, you pulled off something freaking incredible. So where did the inspiration for that come around?
Well, I'll give you some background. I think it helps to kind of get some background as to the making of the film, because I do think there are some shortcomings to me in it, but many of them have to do with the circumstances of the film's production. I am a assistant. I'm basically an assistant teacher in the film class at my school, or I was that year, and we voted on a short film that we were going to make as a class over the next semester. And my script was voted as the one we would do, which was Long Box. And then I was supposed to be the director. And then I didn't intend to star in it as well. I didn't intend to be one of the leads. But it turned out that I was one of the only males in the class that was willing to be in front of a camera. So I was like, all right, well, I guess that's me. But yeah, so we made the film over the next semester. And it was shot it was 1 day a week for the rest of the semester, and it was only one class period every 1 day a week. So class is an hour and a half. We would have about 30 minutes of that spent setting up and then taking it apart. And basically, so that would mean that we got 1 hour of shooting done every week, which is not an optimal circumstance for making a short film at all. You know, I can't imagine how much more quickly we would have gone if we'd had the opportunity to do something over have a full day to do something every week. And also I had to write the script to be something that we could film exclusively at the school. So that was the main thing. There are a couple bits. We took 1 day over the summer to do some reshoots, and we went to a comic book store and a park and like some other exterior locations for the montage. But yeah, so that was the circumstances of it. You asked what the inspirations were. I actually remember writing the script or writing the idea for this back at the end of 2016, after the election here in America had happened. And I was just really torn apart by all the vitriol that had been going on, even between people that I liked, of calling everybody else monsters because they voted for this person or supported this person and whatever. And I had some very clear opinions about the people that I did not like in that election. I didn't like either of them. I specifically hated Trump. But it was really extremely, I don't know, it was something that stuck with me, how nobody seemed to be seeing that many of the reasons that either people were voting for a particular person were very personal to them. It wasn't like the people voting for Hillary were like, I can't wait to destroy the lives of gun owners. I can't wait. It's going to be great. No, like they had personal reasons for supporting Hillary Clinton, So all that to say, that's a very convoluted way of saying it was something that instilled in me an idea of being like, I would love to write a film about people who disagree about a very surface level thing and come to realize that the reasons that they think a certain way are very personal to them, if that makes sense. And so I then eventually paired that with another thing that had gone on the internet, which is obviously people insulting movies that other people like and other people kind of taking that very personally, because oftentimes the films that move you and the films that you love, you don't just love because they're good or because they're entertaining. The films that you personally love, you love because you connect with them in your heart and you really feel something personal with those movies. So I wanted to do something that would both be a love letter to pop culture and how it can unite people and bring people together, but also show that in the end, relationships are way more important than pop culture, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little mini summary. That was a little long for me to summarize, but
well, no, yeah. I really love that, because immediately what I took away from watching Long Box Breakup was that it's kind of similar even to stories as lessons in a way, because it was about, you have that girl in there who's playing your girlfriend. I don't know if she's your real girlfriend, but
she is not, but yeah.
To me it was kind of like what stories mean to us, and you sort of filmed it in a very like Edgar Wright meets Judd Apatow kind of way, which I really dug. It was quite charming. Usually when I see YouTubers try and make like short films, it's always them like trying to be like Nicholas Winding Refn, and it just comes off really amateur.
Yeah.
But yours, it kind of spoke to me because I felt like through your creativity, you were being extremely honest with something about how you felt, and clearly from what you've summed up, that's very much the case. And
Yeah.
Honestly, I would love to see that like a feature length, because you've got a really great idea there. And you know, I started this whole YouTube channel thing because my long-term goal is to be an author, and I study writing and a lot of stuff like that. That's why Lessons from the Screenplay is great for me. But I honestly, I could see Long Box Breakup becoming like a feature-length thing if you ever wanted to do that in the future.
It's just, Mad Max was the last movie I saw with my dad before he was deployed. And, I mean, we hung out and watched it, and he used to show me all of his old films, and so I guess it's just kind of hard for me to take, like, valid criticism of that kind of thing. So...
Well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, that means a lot. I have been told I mentioned the restrictions of making it. We only had one semester and 1 hour a week basically, and I have been told by lots of people, you know, it would have been so much better if we'd had more time to see the space between their breakup, you know, and to develop their relationship a little bit more. You know, much of the film is summarized in montages. There's a montage at the beginning that shows them all happy together, and then a montage towards the end where they have broken up. And that was a device that I was like, all right, if I wrote all kinds of dialogue scenes for this, they would be lovely to film, but we just don't have time for it. And so the best way to communicate a lot of information and development and progression over time was to do some sort of montage. But that said, people who say that they wish there was more development, I totally agree. Like, if I'd had more time and more crew and more hours and everything, you can bet that there would have been all kinds of there would have been probably a scene after the breakup montage, maybe a couple scenes. There would have been a couple more scenes before they break up, just to develop their characters and their relationship a little bit more. But as it is, I think we definitely made do with what we had and kind of pushed the limits as much as we could, to do something that would summarize a longer relationship in some shorter things along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, because you touch on something that's very relevant now with like the state of like fandom, and I even talked about that in my last Stories as Lessons. I used Syndrome from The Incredibles as an example.
Yeah.
And basically like there's always things I see on Twitter where people argue over how they personally feel about a story versus what someone else feels about a story. I can tell you, I've gotten a lot of like, oh well, really, you like that over this, you like this over that, and mostly because of movies that I love that are really personal to me. And I just find the arguing, and you touch on it in Long Box Breakup, the arguing about it is so pointless.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Like, and I love that you have a movie out there and you've done more than just be like another video essayist. You've actually created something that could speak to a lot of people, and you know, I wish more people would see this movie, dude, honestly.
Well, thank you. That definitely means a lot. Everything that you've said is exactly. I'm so glad that someone interpreted it exactly the way that I wanted them to. You know.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that the film is extremely subtle. It's pretty clear with its message.
Oh yeah, it's clear, but it is fun, and it's kind of got like that John Hughesy vibe to it, which I really like.
Yes. I'm so glad that you noticed that. I've been told that it's very much an emulation of, I mean, and I knew this going on in, that the film is very much an emulation of Edgar Wright and Wes Anderson and John Hughes and all of my favorite directors' styles. And, you know, I've had some reviews say, like, Houston, you can't keep copying other people's style forever or whatever. And that's a fair point. Like, it is, I don't want to rip off people's style. But this was really my first short film that I'd ever really done. I've done some minor stuff in the past, but this was my first short film that really had a crew and had additional actors besides myself. And I felt like a healthy thing, I think it can be very healthy to do, was to try and take the things that I saw that were great in the films that I loved and try to do those things myself. And that's not something that you can continue to do forever, but I think it can be healthy to try to do the things that you love and try to do something that's as good as those things and see where you fail in doing that. And that's where your own voice comes in. And it can just be informative to learn how something is done. It's also, I felt like the fact that the movie feels very Edgar Wright, and that there is an Edgar Wright film involved in the narrative with Scott Pilgrim.
I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, by the way.
Yeah, I love it. I adore it. Was made the stylistic choices in the film relevant to the actual theme. We're watching a movie about characters who love Edgar Wright and love that style, and it is in that style. It's almost as if they are living in an Edgar Wright film because they love that so much. So, yeah, that was kind of my thought process behind that. Definitely, I wouldn't say, try to emulate people's styles forever, because you need to flesh out your own voice eventually. But I think early on, especially when you're finding your voice as an artist, and I certainly haven't found my voice completely yet, and I don't think anyone truly finds their voice 100%. It just continues to develop. I think, as I said, it can be healthy to look at the things that you love and try to emulate them, not word for word, beat for beat, but kind of making a conglomeration, if that makes sense.
It does, and I can actually relate to that a lot, because when I was 18, when I was your age, dude, that was when I started writing. And I did a lot of that stuff where it was trying to emulate other people's voices and not really focusing on my own voice. Mm-hmm. And funnily enough, that's I have a bit of a weird story considering what I'm working on currently.
Yeah.
So when I was 18, I started writing this book called I'm No Superman, which was basically, I had this idea that what if you had a kid who got superpowers but didn't want to become a superhero? Mm-hmm. And because at the time I was very cynical and I'd just broken up with my girlfriend, I ended up kind of projecting myself onto that story, and I think that's why literary agents were like, nope, we do not want this anywhere near us. And then I started writing more stuff. I wrote another mystery series that has been shelved. I tried to write a fantasy book, but I'm sure you've seen me tweet about Moonflower a bit on my own chat. I know. A
little bit, yeah. I'm really interested to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, basically what I thought I wanted to do a sort of whimsical, fun adventure, but I wanted to do it in my own style, how I see characters and villains and stuff like that. So I thought, what if you had a little kid who loved stories and used them for comfort, kind of like what we do, who then got a chance to meet her own favorite fictional character, but she turned out to be evil.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting idea, for sure. And I like the idea of being... I like the idea of someone who's defined by a particular piece of art or a particular aspiration, learning that they need to kind of become themselves and become apart from just trying to aspire to that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a convoluted sentence, but yeah.
Definitely, and weirdly enough, I sort of kind of found my own voice writing this, because when I was writing this main character, this little 11-year-old kid, I based it off my little cousin, because she's such a dork. I love her to bits, but she's very dorky. I kind of based it on that kind of innocence of oh, well, maybe if a kid is reading those kind of female protagonists that are always very tough and uncaring, and they're just that's their whole character.
Like a Mary Sue?
Somewhat, yeah. It's kind of... Yeah. I wanted the villain Moonflower Jones to kind of satirize that, whereas the kid sees her as oh, she's awesome and everything, but everyone else around her is what, you are you're like a bad role model, and I don't want
Yeah.
you near this kid. And then when that character finds out that she's fictional, it's kind of like, oh, so you're telling me everything I went through, like my parents dying, all this stuff, it was just to entertain a kid?
Right.
I'm not having that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. How old is the protagonist supposed to be?
She's 11.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And funnily enough, I had wrote a draft of Moonflower. I tried pitching it, and then it started not getting accepted. And of course, when you do that, as a writer, you're like, oh god, everyone hates me. Why should I just stop writing? And then this thing called DV Pit came along, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm queer. And I had never realized when I was writing Moonflower that I had actually been simultaneously writing a queer character, and I didn't realize it.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I started pitching it like that, and I changed the story slightly to sort of make that character queer, and it ended up strengthening it so much.
Huh.
And then
Yeah.
agents started requesting the story, so I haven't heard anything back from it yet, but who knows, by this time next year I might end up being on a bestseller list.
So it just goes to show you that, you know, when you embrace the aspect of a story and of your identity as a writer that you weren't trying to express originally, that often it can be more appealing to other people because people want authenticity, you know?
Yeah,
That's
for
what,
sure.
That's what I read so much in writing books is, you know, the people who say that you just need to write what you would want to read, not what you think other people would want to read, and there will inevitably be an audience like you that wants to read it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because like my goal as an author, and kind of my goal with the whole channel, is that, yeah, especially with the way the world's changing now, I want to let those kids who might be LGBT, I just want to let them know that they're not alone. Like, that's all. There's so many people say like the existence of a diverse character is apparently an agenda to them, which I've never understood.
Right.
And
Rose Tico is an SJW propaganda.
I'm like I get if you don't like the Rose Tico character, but she's anything but an SJW agenda.
I guarantee you that if Admiral Haldo's character had been a male, no one would have a single problem with anything she did.
I do not disagree with you on that at all.
Yeah.
But like really what I wanted to do with Moonflower, and what I think you sort of wanted to do with Longbox Breakup, is that you had these ideas about how you kind of saw the world, and the best part about that was that you used your own creativity to put that into a story that other people will end up connecting to. And that's the best thing about creativity for me, and I really want to see more of that from video essay channels.
Well, yeah, and I think it's I think it's an interesting balancing act, because I would say that often the best stories don't necessarily exist to communicate a specific message, but rather to or they don't exist to preach a certain message, but they exist rather to ask questions about a certain theme or something. Yeah. And my film very much exists just to preach a message. I think it's not overly preachy with it. I think it's okay. But I definitely would like to try more films in the future that aren't necessarily saying something obnoxiously or something extremely clearly, but are just demonstrating. This is a good way of putting it, I guess. I guess I would want to make things that don't necessarily tell the viewer something, but demonstrate truth that then they can find self-evident in what they've seen, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great way to go about it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, when I was watching some Actors on Actors, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Kumail Nanjiani was talking about how he wrote The Big Sick, and what he said was, like, you can't be preachy about your ideas. Like, there was a moment where I was writing in Moonflower, like, do I make her bigoted and have that be the thing? But then I wrote that, and it felt so weird. Right. Like, it was like I was pushing a sort of, like, gay people are better than you agenda. So I cut that out. It was stupid. And basically I just had it go like, oh, you're gay? So what? Okay, you do you. You embrace the best part of you. And, like, that was my message. And I think that's kind of more of a universal message. That's not just specific to gay people. Like, that can be for anybody. And especially with Longbox Breakup, like, what I think you were trying to say was, yeah, people can have differences of opinions and, like, different personal backgrounds, that doesn't mean that you can't understand each other.
Right. Yeah, and I think, as what you were saying before, making something that feels authentic and normalized is important, where you're not making a huge deal of a certain piece of quote unquote agenda in the viewer's face, but you are just including it authentically because that's how your life and the story that you want to tell is orchestrated, and I think when you embrace something as just being normal, that's when people start to be moved by it, because they don't feel like they're being preached to, and they don't feel like they're being manipulated, but they just feel like they're watching a slice of life, and they can actually take something away from it.
Yeah, because I knew, because it had a gay protagonist, that I wanted to have like a sort of coming out scene, but all that was like, oh, you're gay? Are you happy? Like, that was the only question her parents asked her, was like, are you happy? And
yeah.
She just says, yeah, and it's like, well, then we're happy too, because that's like how I think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have, like, especially I see in a lot of LGBT stories, they always have that one character who exists clearly just to be bigoted, even in stuff that I love. Like in Love, Simon, those two teenagers who just exist to be bigots. You're just like, get these guys off screen. You might as well not have them anyway, because they kind of take away from the message.
They're like the angry professor in God's Not Dead.
Oh, God. Those I only know about those movies because of Ralph the Movie Maker.
Oh, right, yeah. No, I hated them even before his reviews. Yeah. But yeah, on that springboard, it can be extremely jarring when you include a character that just is supposed to represent everything that the writer doesn't like. And it becomes sort of a caricature in that respect, where it's like, this isn't a normal person. And if you want to demonstrate another conflicting worldview or something, you got to do it with more depth than that,
Yeah, and I think I sort of did that with Moonflower Jones, because how I wrote it was like, it's not that she hates that you have a crush on a girl, it's she hates that you have a crush on anybody, because she sees love as a distraction, because that's what those kind of protagonists do in like any other stories they're in.
So she's like Black Widow. Love is for children. I owe him a debt.
She's like Black Widow if she was a lot more psychotic.
Oh, good.
And like, even the name Moonflower Jones, it was kind of making fun of those really ridiculous storybook names from like the 80s.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But going on from that, this with the whole thing with how video essays are now, like you and Taylor were talking about it, how they're all kind of starting to blend in with one another,
mm-hmm.
and it can be especially hard for like new people to get notice now. And one question I got from when I was saying that I was going to have you on the show, this guy Vedan Nalik, he's in a Facebook group I manage, asked that he's currently making a lot of videos about like popular topics and superhero movies, and not really the stuff that he wants to make. So what would the advice be for that? Because I know you kind of fluctuated with how you first started out to where you are now.
Well, that is the question, isn't it? Right? Where I wish I could tell you, like, just do you and you'll get hundreds of thousands of viewers eventually. You might not. Like, doing you is great for you and often great for a certain niche, but not necessarily the trendy thing to do. I've definitely had to find a balance on my channel of making videos about things that are current and quote-unquote trendy and popular that will get views, and balancing that with things that I personally just want to make and I don't necessarily care if they get views. I think I've veered into that bottom category a lot more this year in particular. But it's all a matter of, I think, if you're going to make a video about something popular right now just to, be a part of the conversation, and there's nothing wrong with that, then you need to bring your own voice to it and not try to emulate what everyone else is saying. So bottom line, I would say, is it's tricky, and I think you need to find a balance between doing what you want to do and doing things that will increase viewership on your channel, but you need to bring your voice to both of those things. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to be a part of the current popular conversation. because often doing something like that, it's definitely worked for me, has gotten my other videos that wouldn't normally get views more views, because then people are interested in what you have to say about other things. But I don't think that necessarily someone who capitalizes off of every popular topic is appealing to people. So my philosophy would just be to say something when you feel like something needs to be said, and not when you don't want to do. There have been videos that I've made in the past that were just made because I was like, all right, this is a popular topic, I might as well talk about it. But I've tried to stray away from that as of late and just talk about the things that I really have something to say about. Sometimes that's a popular thing, sometimes it's not. Solo, I really liked, but I don't have anything particularly, influential to say about it, so I didn't make a video about it, even though that probably would have been something that would have gotten more views than whatever else I did that week, So I think it's, the balance is important. I've rambled a little bit with this answer, but I think balance is important.
No, dude, I honestly love it when you ramble, because, you're very thoughtful about this kind of stuff, and
thanks.
I honestly, that for me is the key to being a good video essayist, is that you have to be thoughtful. You know what I mean? Like, you see so many that are trying to emulate everyone else and kind of say what everyone else is saying. Like, I can't tell you how many DC videos I've seen that all say the freaking same thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
When, like, a more unique perspective, like, even if you didn't like it, like, try and bring something new to the table, because I think everyone is naturally gonna have a different viewing experience than everyone else. Like I'll use Blade Runner 2049 as an example. I take it you probably liked that a bit more than I did. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but I recognize that big hardcore sci-fi isn't really my thing, so I'm not really the best person to talk about it. So me doing a video on that would feel kind of dishonest, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is for you, but do you have any long-term goals, like, outside of just being a video essayist? Like, I saw your thing with, like, your Harry Potter documentary, which, honestly, it felt like something I might watch on Netflix, let alone YouTube. And with Long Box Breakup, like, is being a filmmaker or, like, a creator in that sense something that you want to build towards?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to be going to a certain type of film school next year. But yeah, the thing is, everyone wants to be a director, and I want to be a director too. Literally, you talk to anyone on the internet, it's like, my dream is to be a director and direct, the next blockbuster, the next Marvel movie, or I want to direct indie films, blah, blah, blah. And I definitely have that in my eyes, like, that's something that I would love to do. But I also think I would totally be content with being an editor, or being a cinematographer, or something that has kind of become a bigger interest to me in recent years, being a sound designer or Foley artist of some kind. That's always, it's weird. Like, there are some little niche things where you could go after being a director, and I think at some point in my life I probably will try to do that. And that's a huge field of hundreds of thousands of people trying to do the same thing. But if you start small, I think it's interesting to see what you can build up towards. So I might, like, study sound design in college. I'm really not sure. But I think it can be very beneficial either way, no matter what you're looking for, to get a full knowledge of every field of filmmaking, of storytelling, and of the visuals, and of acting. I mean, I might even want to take an acting class at some point just to learn what an actor's thought process would be. I'm not an actor. I've acted when I have to. I don't think I'm that good. But I would love to take an acting class just to learn that kind of thought process, so that if I did become a director, I would be able to talk to actors in a way that is natural. So I guess the bottom line to that question is, yes, I definitely plan to work in film if that becomes an opportunity in my life. The question is whether I'm going to go after something like directing, or whether I would be just as happy doing sound design or doing editing, because I equally adore those things. So
yeah, that's a great thing to build towards, and I love that you're so ambitious about that. Who knows, maybe in the future you might end up adapting one of my books.
That'd be great. Yeah,
I mean, if you like my writing partner says my style is kind of like Neil Gaiman, if you're into that sort of thing.
huh, yeah.
So basically what I think we can take away from this whole conversation is that like, if you want to be a video essayist, if you want to be a creator of any kind, the key words there, creativity, is the key. Like, I'm so sick of seeing like new podcasts and new creators who are basically just trying to be everybody else. And like, if you try to be everybody else or try to be someone that you're not, well, your voice is not going to be heard. And I think that's kind of evident with what we've done. You've started getting more personal with your channel. I started being more honest with myself about my own writing, and look how it's paid off for both of us. I've got an agent looking at my book, and you're sitting there at 39k subscribers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that getting personal with your viewers, people are more, they're more attuned to authenticity than they realize. There is a demographic of people who just like fake stuff, but I think even subconsciously, most people prefer a YouTuber who is not going to smooth out the edges and who is going to be fully authentic and personal with their videos, you know. And I think, and I told Taylor this in our conversation, Taylor J. Williams, for those who don't know, that video essays will die out if everyone is just trying to emulate lessons from the screenplay. Video essays will evolve and continue to grow if everyone brings their own voice to the table, and we have a conglomeration of all kinds of different voices, because everyone is different and everyone has different life experiences to bring to the same stories, you know. If everyone decided to make a video about what Harry Potter means to them, like I have, all those videos would be different. You know, they would share similarities, but everyone has a different interpretation of Harry Potter. Everyone has a different meaning to it in their life. And so I think if more people talk about personal stuff, then that's what really broadens the genre. So, yeah.
I think that's a great answer, honestly, dude. And so have you got anything you want to tease that's coming up, or any videos that you want to make but haven't gotten a chance to do yet?
Well, I'm not sure when this video is going up, but next week, as of recording, we'll have a video called, as of now, it's called The Myth of Cinephile Inadequacy, and it's going to be talking about kind of the...
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is, exactly. That's why I might change the title. But it's going to be talking about why there's so much peer pressure in the film community to be a certain type of film fan. So that's going to be coming next week as of the recording of this. Then I'll be on vacation for a couple weeks. But as of now, I'm putting a lot of work into this next short film that I'm working on called Paradoxical, which probably won't be online for a while because I'd like to submit it to some student film festivals. And many of them say that, like, they don't want you to have premiered your film anywhere else before you submit to them. So that may be a little while, but it is about to be finished, at least for private viewing within the next couple months. So that is exciting for me. Yeah, the channel is HoustonProductions1 for those people who don't know. I don't know. But I'm glad to have been on here. So.
Yeah, one I really want to do that I'm surprised that nobody else on the video essay world has done. Why has nobody done a video essay on How to Train Your Dragon yet?
I was thinking about that.
You look like Hiccup, so you could do it.
Good. Well, How to Train Your Dragon is one of my favorite movies. That is a movie that means a lot to me. So yeah, I actually literally, I've got a list of it's like 100 different video ideas on Microsoft Word, and that is one of them. I want to do a video about How to Train Your Dragon, and I also want to do a video about Kung Fu Panda. So those are two franchises that don't get enough love on the internet.
I mean, they're both sincere, epic, and fun. I'd consider How to Train Your Dragon like a similar feeling to the original Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the third one. I mean, if you put an Ed Sheeran song in a trailer, you're going to get me on board.
Of course.
But I think that'll wrap us up for today. There was one little fun question that Joseph Solano asked me. I'll be curious to get your thing on this, because I don't know if you're much of a horror guy, but like, what director should do a horror movie?
Well, I can't say I'm an expert on horror. That's definitely one of my least expert genres that I haven't seen enough of. I'm like, my favorite horror movie is 10 Cloverfield Lane, and that's not even a horror movie.
Try watching Suspiria.
Right. I also like The Shining, but if the question is what director should do a horror film, you know who I would love to see do a horror film? I would love to see Wes Anderson do a horror film.
That would be amazing.
Would be hilarious and terrifying, and I would eat up every moment of it. That would be so good.
I could see him doing like a House on Haunted Hill type horror movie.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I'd like to see Greta Gerwig tackle horror.
That's an interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, when they ask this question, Quentin Tarantino's name always gets brought up. But I'm pretty sure the next movie he's doing, it's about Charles Manson. It is a horror movie, basically.
Well, right. It is, when you bring up certain questions like this, like what director should do this specific genre, often the names that get thrown around, like Wes Anderson, are the directors who are usually contained to a very specific type of other genre. Right? Like, Wes Anderson has his own genre, basically, and Quentin Tarantino has his own genre, and people want to see what they would be like to work in something completely different. So, yeah, it's an interesting topic to bring up for sure.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that'll wrap us up, and dude, thanks so much for being my guest on this little video. I might end up doing more videos like this, like just having a conversation with another creator about something. Yeah, if you guys listening now, if you like this thing, go check out Houston's channel. He's doing some really great stuff. I mean, I showed my brother that Harry Potter documentary that you made, and his eyes were just like, they were like this for the whole thing.
Aw, that warms my heart.
Even though you're a Gryffindor and I'm a Hufflepuff, I approve of your thing. But
thanks for recommending it. Thanks for giving it so much love. Yeah.
And once again, thanks so much for coming on. I know the time difference probably makes it a pain in the ass, but I appreciate it anyway.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I look forward to maybe being on here again sometime or something like that.
Yeah, well, if you never know, we might end up doing another collab sometime down the line. I've been trying to get Robbie to do a collab, but I think he's like really busy with the stuff that he's doing now. It's just
I also think the time difference might be even more jarring. Who's to say?
Oh yeah, I mean down in Australia, yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably sleeping like right now, or he's awake right now. I don't know. See, this is why I can't do a collab with Robbie. Anyway, if you guys like this, thanks so much for listening, and click the subscribe button, all that jazz, and I will see you guys next time for my next video essay, Stories as Lessons. I think I'm gonna take a look at Ant-Man, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's a fun superhero movie, but I also think it's a cool story about parenthood, and that's all I will say about it. So
well, there you go. Check out his new Ant-Man video, guys.
And if you haven't seen my latest one on The Incredibles, go watch that, please, because it's got very low views. Okay, that's it. See you guys next time.
See ya.